When you retire, you may get a chance to go to football heaven. This is football heaven.
Hello, guys. Welcome to The Mission. I'm your host, Jameer Howerton, and today we have an amazing story and show for you as we celebrate and in honor of Women's History Month and Black History Month as well. Today, we get a chance to talk to the first of the first. I'm talking about a true pioneer that has worked hard, that's going to share a story of perseverance and determination. Without further ado, I am so blessed and honored to speak with the first African-American woman NFL official, Miss Maia Chaka. Maia, welcome to The Mission.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I am so happy. First and foremost, congratulations. What was it like officiating a full season last year?
It was long, very, very long. And I think it was longer than normally, our college season, which really goes from like August, September-ish, to November. And this went from July to January. And it was a definite marathon, but it was very enjoyable. And, it's one of those things that, it was so fun that you just hope that you're asked back again and again each year.
Maia, who were some of the people that congratulated you right away when you received the message that you would be working in the NFL this year?
A lot of my colleagues that are already in the NFL, because a lot of them came from Conference USA. We all officiated Conference USA at one time. So, Brad Rogers, who's a referee, he's a crew chief in the NFL. He was one of my first college crew chiefs. He was one of the very first people who reached out. A bunch of other officials that I've worked with throughout the years that are now in the NFL, they reached out to me, and that was just amazing. And, every time I hit the field, like different coaches and players, people who are like Hall of Fame coaches and players came up to me and just giving me that acknowledgement and that affirmation was really nice.
Now, Maia, I know you're from Rochester, New York, but now you're in Virginia Beach and Virginia area. And I got to tell you, there's something in the water there. When you think of the great talent, Allen Iverson, Michael Vick, Aaron Brooks, Kenny Easley, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I mean, you think of the great legends that are from that region, and now you're a part of the great legacy of being in that region. What makes that area so special?
I guess it's, like you said, it must be something in the water is what Pharrell likes to say. He's not an athlete, but, Pharrell's the man. But I guess what makes us so special is because we have a bunch of different cities, like in one location. So even though it's our area, Allen Iverson, Newport News, Hampton, those guys, Aaron Brooks are from the peninsula. And then we have, people who are coming from the South Side, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake. And so we're all like really battling against each other to say who has, who's going to have the most Hall of Famers come from which city produces the best athletes, which high schools are going to be the best. So it's like iron sharpens iron a little bit. So we all compete with each other. And then, if we make each other stronger, it's going to be real hard to beat us like from this area. Plus, we're really considered underdogs in a sense because we don't have any pro teams here. And so like, since we don't have any pro teams, it's even harder for us to get like to the top. For me, I'm like one of the first officials to come from this area to make it to the National Football League. And that itself was hard. So you got to create your own network.
I forgot to mention one name, and if this man he would be so mad if I didn't mention his name, but the legend, Mr. Bruce Smith.
Absolutely. Norfolk, Norfolk, Virginia. And, then he would, years in Buffalo, years with Washington. So, he's just amazing athlete.
And who was here to congratulate you?
Maya.
Who was?
Hi, Maya.
How are we?
It's Hall of Famer Bruce Smith. I in an effort to make this moment special, I wanted to be a part of this phone call and this interview and congratulate you on your journey. And in your being a pioneer of your success, but not only of your success, you have reached history. You've made history, and you're going to pave the way for other African American women to be a success story in the field of being a referee in the NFL. So congratulations, and thank you for all of your hard work and your determination, your sacrifice, and your effort in this moment.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot, coming from you, the best of the best in your position. It's really hard, to top a lot of things and a lot of accolades you received. And you may not remember this, but I remember you actually came to speak. I was working at Virginia Beach Central Academy. I think you're close friends with Bobby Huntley. You came to speak to our kids, a while back. And, a lot of what you said ended up sticking with our kids to this day. And, it ended up sticking with me, in terms of what it meant, understanding your worth. And, and working hard to make it to, so that you can reach the worth and, setting realistic goals for yourself. So I do remember that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's a part of the journey, and it's a part of the journey of after you've reached this success that you reach back and you uplift those to help them to achieve the goals that they want to achieve in life. And that's what it's all about. That's why I chose to stay in the Tidewater area and in Virginia. Because there's much work to be done for inclusion and diversity. And I am so honored and happy to welcome you in this unique and very small fraternity. And obviously in the referee field and in my endeavor of being a player, and to reach the pinnacle is what we all strive for. So I am so honored that we have a lot in common. You're from upstate New York, Rochester, and you currently now live in Virginia Beach. Obviously, I played in Buffalo, and I live in Virginia Beach now. But there's so much work left to be done, and in honor of Women's Month, and in honor of all the things that we're trying to accomplish in life to uplift people and to get them to reach their goals and their success stories. It's just amazing. So I appreciate your journey. What I would like to ask on behalf of the Hall of Fame, since you have made history, I'd like for you to donate some of your artifacts, whether it's a whistle, your shirt, your cap, something that's of significance that we can display in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in honor of your journey and your success story that will inspire others.
Absolutely. You got it. Number 100. It's coming your way.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Mr. Smith, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks a lot. Maya, we'll see you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you for hopping on.
All right.
What a pleasant surprise.
All right.
Maya, you never know who's going to drop in here on the mission. And that's why I was so excited, because I knew who was on the other end and how Mr. Smith wanted to come in and surprise you. Oh, wow. That's amazing, Maya. But you know what? Let's just take a step back and talk about your journey and how it all started that got you to this point.
So for me, it all started just being like a young girl in Rochester, New York, being one of the girls who was outside with the boys playing, stomping up and down the streets, running in and out the Boys and Girls Club. That was who I was. And I was always welcome with open arms, like with the boys, whenever I wanted to compete. And they never rejected me. Often I was the first one that was picked for teams. And of course, that's a boost to my self-esteem, knowing that you can hold your own, with people that are in your age group, and some boys that are even like that are older than you. So that was an honor in itself. So just growing up there, in a 2-parent household at the time when I was real young, my parents had a bookstore, and where they taught me it was important for me to be myself. It was an Afrocentric bookstore, and my parents were like almost activists in their own. And they taught me at a young age what it meant to be a member of the community and the type of impact that I can have in the community, and how much that I had to love myself. And they really just gave me a lot of room to grow and become an independent thinker. And I think that really helped me, once I started to reach adulthood, it was really hard to persuade me to do something, or even through high school, it was very difficult to persuade me to do something that I didn't want to do, or that was going to go against my morals or my values, because I was so confident in who I was. Like I didn't feel the need to do anything to be accepted by a group of people. I made a lot of decisions that was just going to get me respected, from groups of people. And that has always just been the root of my decision making. Is this going to get me respected first? Because, when you get respect from anyone or any group of people, then eventually that rolls around to you being accepted. But I'm not into this business or any part of my life to make friends. I'm all in it to just, make sure I can do the best job I can do. And, that carried with me through high school, working multiple jobs and being able to play all sports at the same time, still while working, fast food restaurants and still while going to school. It was just something in me just to be able to multitask. And I needed to multitask. I needed to grind. I didn't like a lot of downtime. I've always tried to find what was going to be my next opportunity, so that I can be successful. I didn't necessarily know what it was at the time, but I just knew that I didn't want to be like the people who I grew up with. I grew up with a lot of young mothers, a lot of people who are incarcerated. That's what it's like, the life of the inner city. But I just didn't see myself in their shoes, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So if I just continue to work hard and take advantage of any opportunity that's being presented to me, I knew there was a great chance for me to be successful. Never did I think it would be officiating football, but here I am, right?
That's great. That's great. That's amazing. And just through the game of football and officiating, if you could talk about some of your mentors, some of the people that helped you along the way.
Wow. So first and foremost, I would like to pay a lot of respect to Johnny Greer, somebody in our officiating community who we just lost recently. Mr. Greer being the first African-American to be a crew chief, to be a referee in the National Football League. He's done so much for not only minority officials, but officials altogether, and the culture and being able to scout talent and just getting people involved and putting them on the right level. And so he was someone who early on in my career, when I started working at Conference USA, I meet Gerald Austin, someone else who had been in the National Football League 27 years and multiple Super Bowls. He started working with me through Gerald and started putting a lot of things in play for me behind the scenes. So I didn't understand why the gears were moving so fast, and why I was able to get so many opportunities. That's because I had somebody like Johnny fighting for me behind the scenes. And it's crazy the way that those things just line up. And I was very fortunate to be close to his area. He's in the Maryland, DC area, and just being around that pipeline, and being around other officials, that share like mind to be successful. That's very important. So he's one of them. Gerald is a great innovator, and he's very progressive with thinking. And he gave me that opportunity straight from high school to work Division I football. And he's just been an amazing advocate for me in my corner. And that it was great working with him, working with, the referees I've worked with through the years. Brad Rogers, my first crew chief in Conference USA, he was very patient. He's the epitome of a great leader. I'm so wet behind the ears, and I wasn't really good at officiating when I first started, but for him, he was so patient and just wanted to teach me. And he took a lot of responsibility for my growth. Whenever, I messed up, he took responsibility for that, but he used them as learning opportunities as opposed to throwing me under the bus or beating me over the head with my mistakes. He taught me from my mistakes. So I think that is just a very valuable quality. And when you talk about leaders, and then it moves on, people I've worked with, Reggie Smith, Reggie the ref, right. He taught me about the business side. He's not in the National Football League, but that doesn't mean that he can't help me get to where I wanted to go. As somebody who's a Black man and is a crew chief, there are very few of those. And he was, at the time when he started being a crew chief, there was even less at the time. He taught me how to navigate, how officiating is a business, and this is how you have to conduct yourself, and don't devalue yourself just because you don't look like anyone else at this point. So he really gave me that killer instinct, for lack of better terms, when it comes to, sharpening my skills and becoming a professional and getting me over the hump. He was very instrumental. And then I have my crew who I work with now in the National Football League, Clay Martin, an amazing referee, an amazing leader from the school of Gerald Austin, like myself. But he's a great teacher, a great coach, and he just loves human beings. And he doesn't care what you look like, where you come from. He just wants us to be successful. And he has that ability to bring the best out of everybody.
What was it like when we had Sarah Thomas last year in honor of Women's History Month? What was it like, the communication between you and Sarah when you received the call? Did she call you up and congratulate you?
When I received the call for the NFL or that call, Well, so her call came a little delayed, but okay. I understand why it came that way, because she knew, because she went through the same thing. She knew that my phone was absolutely nuts and that there was that she couldn't get through. So she waited, like a few days to let things die down, which I'm appreciative of, because everybody else, they just wanted so much of my attention 24/7 around the clock, So a few days, maybe about a week or so after the announcement was made, we had a conversation, and it was a very meaningful conversation. It was something, that I definitely needed. And, she was just like, welcome. Finally, I'm glad you're here. Because, we came through Conference USA together. Her and I were like the only two for the longest, worked our first bowl game together. We just had a meaningful conversation. But I'll tell you who else I spoke to. People may not believe it, but I spoke to Violet Palmer, who was the first Black woman to officiate in the National Basketball Association. Wow. So yeah, I had a really good conversation with her. And it's weird because, she had already worked in the NBA and, through the 90s and going on up, the NBA already had a woman in for 20 years before the NFL hired one. And just talking with her and hearing how many similarities like our story had, and we're on two different sports and in two different time periods, but times really haven't changed as much. Our stories are almost identical in terms of like our career path and how we got there. And, just things of that I should expect, just like as an African-American woman in this environment. I think that information, that phone call was also very valuable for me in my growth.
Wow. Looking back last year, how did you keep your nerves down? I mean, I know football is football, but just being out there, I can only imagine that you was extremely excited and you was well prepared. But how did you just keep your nerves down?
Well, it comes from I'm not trying to downplay the National Football League for anything, but early on in my career, I was always taught every game is the same. You have to approach every game like when you're going out, and this is from having great mentors on the high school level. They're like, when you go out and you work these Pop Warner games, it's the same thing as you work in a varsity football game. When you go out and you work these Division I college, the varsity games is going to be the same thing when you go out and work your college games. The preparation is always the same. So even starting back from high school, when I was working high school football, I was working with a bunch of college officials who were prepping to work Saturday after working a Friday game. And so they would handle their Friday games the same way they would handle their Saturday games. So I'm already exposed to what it meant to be a college official. And then I get onto my college crews, and everybody who I'm working with on my college crew is preparing to try to go to the pros or is being watched or something. So everything they're doing to prepare for Saturday is almost a blueprint of how they want to prepare for Sunday. And so that's all I knew was how to prepare. So it wasn't that transition wasn't that difficult and then also, again, working with Clay, who's a familiar face and he's very familiar with who I am, and, the culture I've come from, it was really easy going to war, going to battle with somebody that, that has your back 100%. And so they just made me as comfortable as what I could be. And, the trust is there. And when they believe in you and they have that much trust in you, it makes it easy for you to go out and do your job. Even if you do make a mistake, knowing that, they are going to do what they need to do to make sure that the mistake isn't glaring or that you learn from your mistake, or they just wanted to make sure that I went out there and I officiated with confidence. And every week they gave me a responsibility to do. And, I knocked them out the park because they knew they wanted me to be comfortable. They didn't want me to, go in over my head. So I again, like I said, the nerves weren't there. There was a lot of excitement during the first game, but in terms of nerves, once you realize football is football and you feel like you belong, it's like, we're good to go.
That's great. That's great. How is your off season now? Are you taking time to kind of look back at game footage from last year and seeing what you did and how you can fine tune certain things, or there's other techniques and workshops, if you will, that you're involved with now?
So I just came back like from the Tom Beard camp, which is like one of the things I love to do is being able to actually teach and go back. Because when you teach certain techniques, it's like me reiterating everything that, you know, these graders and evaluators have told me throughout the year. And that's the first way, my first step in me just getting back to be able to refresh into what it is that I need. Because, you know, you want to take a little bit of a break off. So last week was the first time I actually opened back up football and started looking at it and, you know, getting myself back in. And then what I'm really planning on doing is going back and looking at everything, you know, that all the feedback that they gave me, and then pulling up certain game plays and just putting myself back in those situations. You know, I'm even doing that while I didn't work playoffs this year. So I'm watching the playoff games and watching the Super Bowl. I don't watch it like a fan, you know.
Yeah, I was about to say, how do you watch the game? Yeah. How do you watch the Super Bowl?
No, you don't. Like you watch it and then I'm always looking, I'm constantly going through my motions of what my pre-snap routine is and what these players are doing. And, you know, and the great thing is when you watch these other people, you know, and you watch what they make, even when it's a great call, you call them up and you compliment them, shoot them a text message, an email, or ask them, you know, how can I do this? Or I noticed this is the technique that you were using. I'm watching the referees in the game. You know, hey, walk me through this technique, because those are the best of the best that you get to see and watch them work their craft. And, you know, you have access to them, you know, and those are guys who don't mind teaching.
Wow, that's great. Well, Maia, before we let you go, I have to ask you, what is the message that you want to convey to your students, to the community, to younger generations that's inspiring to walk in your shoes? What is the overall message that you want to get to them?
So for me, you know, obviously I never played football, you know, on a professional level and an organized level, never done it. But that didn't stop me from reaching to the highest level that you can possibly reach in a sport. And all that became because I was brave and I decided to take a chance on something, you know, that I was very unfamiliar with, but I took a chance on it because I wanted to learn it. And I was okay with, you know, working very hard, night in, night out, every weekend, sacrificing my time just to make sure that I can try to perfect something. I'm not perfect at it, but trying to perfect, like in the pursuit of growth and trying to be great. And just knowing that because I didn't play, that shouldn't stop me. You know, so especially for young ladies, because you didn't live a certain location or you didn't play a certain sport, that shouldn't stop you from trying to learn it. You know, there are a lot of men that officiate. There are some that even officiate in National Football League who have never played football, you know, go figure. That doesn't stop them from doing it. So you have to be brave and take chances. And then you have to trust people or not be afraid, you know, to communicate and work with people who don't look like you or share a different interest than you do, you know, especially when you have a common love of a job and you're just trying to be the best at it. And they're also trying to be the best. They're going to help you, you know, but you just have to put yourself out there and learn.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. Maia, as you can see, I'm downstairs here where we have our officiating display, but we can't wait to have your artifacts in the NFL today, where all of the new history that's being made in the National Football League is on display. We can't wait to have that here.
You got it.
Great, great. Guys, Maia Chaka right here on The Mission.